Just on certain points, I have slight difference of opinion with Mr. Rajshekhar. I'll just try to cover it. The point is, Bharatmala, an ambitious program, Government of India has launched to upgrade the national highways. As probably you know, national highways are the main arteries of the country, and it carries more than 40% of the traffic. For this program has been launched. So far, basically, this Bharatmala Pariyojana covers 65,000 kilometers of national highway network. Out of this 65,000 kilometer, 28,000 kilometer has been identified to be awarded during phase one, which also includes remaining part of NHDP. Out of this 28,000 kilometer, we have already awarded around 11,500 kilometer and 16,500 kilometer yet to be awarded. As far as preparation from our side, basically when I say preparation from our side, it includes three important issues. One is the preparation of the project, DPR preparation. And the second is the pre-construction activities, that is land acquisition and all clearances. As far as DPRs are concerned, we are ready with DPR of 20,000 kilometers. We'll have to only award 16,500 kilometers. The other important aspect is the pre-construction activities. Of course, over a period of time when we have implemented NHDP and even last couple of years, most of our problem was the acquisition of land. So NHAI has taken a tough decision. Of course, we'll go slow on award, but we'll make sure that projects are completed on time. So we'll not award anything until and unless we have 90% of land available with us. So that is the strategy which has led to a little slower down of the program. But I can, as on today, I'm confident by 2024-25 we will be able to complete the whole program. 16,500 which are balanced for award. We are planning to award this year. We are making our preparation for 6,000 kilometers, but I'm sure that we'll touch somewhere 4,500 kilometers. And balance will be awarded next year and next year. As far as completion is concerned, as on date, we have roughly 11,000 kilometers available with us on which work is going on. Our whole idea is to complete these and award new projects. So current year, I'm hopeful that we will be in a position to award something about 4,500 kilometers and complete 4,000 kilometers against the projection made by Mr. Rajshekhar, which gave an idea about 3,000 kilometers. I do agree. Our most important session, most important working season was last in COVID. But I can only tell you from the NHAI side, we made sure whatever best we can do. For example, nobody will believe on these figures. During the month of March, we made a payment of 25,000 crore. This includes 10,000 crore when the entire country was under lockdown and nobody was attending the office. It is all done through the electronic processing. We took up the matter with the state governments, and even during lockdown period, we ensured that wherever our important works are going on, we got the permission, and fortunately, we got support from the state. And invariably, in most of the projects, we got the permission during the lockdown. Today, the position is today, and all the works are in progress. Of course, labor problem is there. But when I say labor problem, it depends upon the project to project and the location of the project, nature of the project. So today, I can say we are near normal situation. So the kind of projection we are making is all, I'm still hopeful that we will be able to achieve 4,500 kilometers of award and 4,000 kilometers of completion. The whole issue which I would like to now from the engineering point of view, other than the finances which Mr. Rajshekhar talked about, how the Bharatmala is different from the earlier, planning processes, development processes. When we planned our earlier programs, whether it is NHDP or whatever it is, our whole emphasis has been on, upgrading the existing route. For the first time, what we did is, we have collected data for origin and destination among 600 districts in the country and identified the shortest routes, which will lead to straight away pro-fly alignments, leaving the existing road. We have left the existing road for two reasons. Number one, when I'll acquire land along the existing road, because of the nature of the land, probably the people who are not aware about the land acquisition, when we acquire the land acquisition, the nature of land is generally either agriculture, residential, or commercial, and the rate differential is huge. Maybe commercial and agriculture, the multiplication factor may be 10. So if I'll acquire a land along the national highway, I'll have to pay for the commercial. So the cost of the land acquisition will be huge. Number two, by adopting greenfield alignments, I'm reducing the distance. So not only the construction cost, but also in terms of the life cycle cost, it will include the vehicle operating cost over the life period time. This approach has resulted into new greenfield alignments. My colleague, Mr. Manoj Kumar, will talk about what we did so far in the greenfield in the one of the session. But the whole our approach was, changed from upgrading the existing to going for the greenfield. Number two, what had happened so far, we were developing since we are developing the existing alignments, road safety has been compromised because I cannot close the access of the existing people. In the greenfield, our whole idea is to provide access control roads and the expressway. So if I see two parts of the road, one is connectivity, another is the mobility. We moved from connectivity to mobility side, and now our emphasis is to give you more and more expressways and the access control. Another important change which witnessed during this planning of Bharatmala is the road safety. Of course, when we implemented NSDP, whole idea at that time was to upgrade the capacity, increase the capacity of the road to cater to the current traffic. But after completion of that capacity augmentation, we realized that the roads are not those safe. And as a result, the total number of accidents, wherever, of course, we have built good roads, but number of accidents and fatalities remain more or less constant over the last 2-3 years. So road safety was another area which have been got due attention in the Bharatmala. And now in Bharatmala, we are very liberally providing all kind of crossing facilities. As a result, the roads are full of underpasses, overpasses, tunnels, and bridges. This has also, of course, led to some kind of increase in the cost. Not only this, more emphasis now is on user comfort. When people are paying toll, they expect good road. They expect that all kind of facilities are there. So we are planning number of wayside amenities and all. As far as freight movement is concerned, Bharatmala not only takes care of connecting to origin and destination point, but also takes care of last mile connectivity. There is a component in Bharatmala which talks about port connectivity. Roughly 2,000 kilometers are earmarked under this particular segment. Similarly, there is a category wherein the roads connecting to the neighboring countries are to be developed under Bharatmala. Bharatmala also envisage construction of ring roads around towns and construction of 35 multimodal logistic parks. It will going to reduce the logistic cost greatly. Not only in terms of engineering, even when it comes in the form of operation and maintenance, you might have seen that we going towards the electronic toll collection. When I talk about access control road and expressway, rather than going for open toll, we'll go for closed tolling. As a result, the people who, whatever portion they will be using, they will pay for that portion. This is on the part of the engineering. As far as new in terms of the different mode, I can only say confidently the road sector is one sector where we are trying to explore all possible models. We are trying to explore every segment of the market. There were days when we launched NSDP and the whole program was on BOT. Unfortunately, during the 2010-11 BOT flopped and we'll have to switch over to budgetary supported projects. With 2 or 3 years of budgetary support, market again revived, and in the meantime, we brought in another new model, HAM model. Of course, as Mr. Rajshekhar said, the original cost of the Bharatmala when it was planned was 5,035 lakhs. Cost has increased for two reasons. One is the new Land Acquisition Act, and the other is the increase in the civil cost. Now, question is how to manage funds for this. Whenever I talk about Bharatmala and when I say people that we will be completing this project by 2025, people always ask, are you comfortable that you will have adequate funds to do it? I can only answer it in a simple way that as far as NHAI is concerned, we tried even in the past when we have survived a situation where the entire program was BOT and we have to switch over to EPC. We could survive for a very simple reason because roads have the intrinsic strength that by way of toll we recover the investment. That is the whole strength on which we are thriving. As on today, of course, when we planned initially, we thought that we'll have 30% EPC, 60% HAM, and 10% BOT. But today position is BOT. We hardly awarded 3 projects, which constitute only 2% of the total total share. But in EPC, it is around 55%, and HAM, it is around 44%. But now our current year emphasis is on HAM. As far as revival of the BOT segment is concerned, what we did is the traffic is the biggest risk which the BOT operator is expected to share. And demonetization and COVID, all those are the situation which nobody has ever thought of. To take care of such kind of issues, now new BOT model is is under consideration. And maybe another 2 months it will be in the market. The whole idea is to share more risk from the traffic side, share the risk on our side. There are two considerations. One is now we have much better way of estimation of traffic. So this particular model will de-risk to certain extent the BOT operator. I'm sure the other kind of modification in the BOT document will help us to attract more and more people in the BOT side. Coming to the HAM side, of course, I do agree. HAM side, there are limitations in terms of in terms of the strength of the company itself, who will be able to get the support from the bankers. Even in HAM, to release the equity of the people who have already invested, we are thinking of tweaking the HAM document. So whole idea is NHAI is always willing and go on modifying the whether it is EPC document, BOT document, or HAM document, taking care of the situation and trying to address the concern of the our partners who are with us in developing the road sector. As far as next 2 years, as I told you, next 2 years we'll have to award this 16,500 kilometer, and by 2024-25 I have to complete the entire program as which was earlier planned by 2022. Coming to the challenges which I feel which we are facing, it's of course land acquisition is one challenge, but this challenge we are not posing it to the concessionaire or the contractor. We have taken on our lap that until and unless we'll do the work, will not. Coming to the handling situation like COVID, I think the Ministry of Road Transport or the road sector is one sector where we brought out series of measures which led to availability of the money to the consultant and the contractor. We gone beyond the contract conditions and given all those kind of relief which includes relaxation of milestone payment, giving concession extension of concession agreement, releasing retention money, which was supposed to be released after completion of the work. We have released retention money. Not only this, the kind of penalties extension, all the extension have been given and penalties have been waived off. The other challenge is the funding. Funding has always been questioned, but I told you as far as funding is concerned, because of the intrinsic strength of the road sector, that we will be able to generate the money from the toll revenue. what only I have, what we are supposed to do is to identify the people who are in a bracket who can take that kind of risk. So we have all kind of concession agreement. People who are willing to take construction risk, not revenue risk, they can come to us. People who are willing to take construction as well as revenue risk, they can come. People who are willing to take only revenue risk, they can come. We have all kind of model. It is not the end of the models. We are also trying to explore new segments like NHAI already floated its InvIT, and also planning to take up some of the work on SPV board. Another important aspect, which generally raised by the people is about disputes. You might have read in the newspaper that around 70,000 crore worth disputes are with the NHAI. It's a big sum, I do agree, and NHAI is concerned about it. And what we did is last 2 years, we have set up a very good conciliatory mechanism in the NHAI. Under this conciliatory mechanism, there are 3 committees headed by independent people. Anybody can approach them. They hear us, mediate between me and the contractor and concessionaire. They resolve the dispute. It is not in theory alone. I don't exactly remember the exact figure, but as I remember vaguely, roughly we have resolved dispute around 15-16,000 crore by payout of around 6,000. So this particular mechanism is working very fine. With this mechanism, not only with this mechanism, we are introducing a system of DRB. DRB, it was introduced earlier also, but this time with more emphasis on resolving the dispute before it occurs. They will be visiting the projects during the execution, identify the faults of both the parties. They will sit with them, explain it to them, take this, do this, and so that the dispute is independent, but rather than raising it in the form of dispute. On the decision making side, so we have taken up number of measures which will reduce the grievances of the people. And now all the you need not to write us a letter. You can put it on our data lake. It will be taken in cognizance. It is the permanent record, and all our paper movement or all your proposals will be moved through the data lake. So PIMS is one area where we have implemented, and it gives just go on giving the alert to the higher ups also that so much pendency is with an officer. Of course, we are trying our best, and I'm sure the way we are moving, we will be able to achieve our target. Now I'll leave it to the people to ask whatever they wish. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Pandey. As always, I have a few questions, but I'm going to first take questions from the audience. First question, sir, is from Bharat Parekh, I'm assuming. What is the updated cost of Bharatmala from 5.3 lakh crores with a higher cost of land and EPC cost?
Yeah, I can. It is around 8.25 lakhs.
8.25 lakhs. Okay, thank you, sir. Next question is, how will you compensate existing NH operators when traffic is diverted to expressway?
There are two things. One, if you go by the concession agreement, when I'm saying traffic is diverted, in the concession agreement, there is a definition of competing facility. Mm-hmm. If it is not a competing facility, then question, say for example, I am constructing a road which connects Delhi to Mumbai. So I'm not going to compensate someone who is doing Delhi to Jaipur.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Sir, next question is, how does the NHAI evaluate viability of Jamnagar-Amritsar Expressway, given the fact that there is DFCC and existing national highway?
Whenever we plan for any corridor, let us forget, I'm not going for a particular name. When we do DPR preparation for any corridor, what we do is we not only we take care of the kind of traffic will be generated, but also we take care of the traffic which will be shared by the different roads. To be very frank, rather than saying that my viability is determined on the basis of the road which I'm expecting in the road. And while doing this, I also take into account the freight movement taken care by the rail.
Okay. Sir, the next question is that from Shinoj Narayanan, is NHAI or how is NHAI forcing possibilities to adopt digital technologies at the construction or engineering point to expedite the process and increase the quality? I guess he's saying, because of COVID, are you looking at digital more than you were before?
As far as there are two issues. One is the process digitalization of process. Say, for example, making payment. It is very easy to do it. But of course, if you leave it to me, I am thinking of the day when all the equipments have they'll transmit all data. Say, for example, a JCB moving will go on giving me so much cubic meter of earth has been dumped. The paver will give me the kind of information so many meters have been laid. But here, what I need is support from the equipment manufacturer and contractor and concessionaire to adopt those kind of things.
Okay, sir. Question from somebody called Vikash. Earlier, NHAI used to publish financial and physical progress of each project. However, we do not see such reports now. How do we find out the progress of each project?
Okay, now it will. I think it is available on the web. Otherwise, if it is not, I'll know that it is available in the public domain. It is nothing to be hidden from anyone.
Okay. So next question is from Dr. Vel Murugan, Chief Scientist at CRRI. He says an excellent summary of Bharatmala projects. We keep hearing many of the greenfield projects have issues related to passing through fertile agriculture belt. Considering the above, how are the following issues being addressed? Citizen participation and environmental impact assessment.
Broader issue, environmental impact assessment is part of the. Before we carry out any project preparation, it has to be taken up. And when the project is particularly greenfield or more than 100 kilometer requiring width of more than 40 meter, we'll have to pass through the rigorous environment clearance process. Same applies for the forest clearance and the CRZ clearance, even wildlife clearances. So the environment impact is part of our this part of our DPR preparation. Coming to the acquiring the land of farmer, it is very difficult. When we'll take land, we'll have to acquire.
Right.
It's a question whether we will go towards the what will get more. Of course, when we do our alignment, we try to see to it that it passes through barren land, but it is always not possible.
Okay. Sir, next question from Vineet Menon. Is there any change planned in the pace of work to be executed? In your planning, are you now changing the pace assumption?
The point is whenever you prepare a program, you decide something. Then
right.
During implementation, you meet number of scenario or challenges which affects you. Say, for example, this year.
Mm-hmm.
So which led to change. Even our strategy have been changed. I don't know how market will respond. All those issues are there, which led to change in our policies and programs. As a result, I told you in the current scenario, we are planning to do it by 2025.
Okay. So next question is from same gentleman. What is the ratio of roads between flexible for the planned roads between flexible and rigid?
The point is how do we decide, rather than giving you the direct answer, how do we decide what kind of road we'll have to construct? As I said in one of the point when I was telling you, we are deciding on the basis of the whole life cycle cost analysis.
Mm-hmm.
So when the cement roads are cheaper, and it was the time 14-15 when cement rates were low, all our roads during that period awarded on cement concrete road. But it is a dynamic situation. Moment the cost of the cement goes up and bitumen down, we switch over to the bituminous road. But during 14-15, 15-16, majority of our projects are on cement concrete. Exact length I don't remember, but it be something around 5,000 to 6,000 feet.
Okay. So next question is from Vibhudatta Satpathy. In regards to obtaining permission from railways and forests for highway construction, it has been seen that there is no change in the system for the early handover in the last 2 or 3 decades.
No, I don't agree with this particular comment because of the delay in getting clearances from various government department. Ministry of Environment has modified their whole system of giving clearances. Similarly, with the railways, there is a system of giving clearances. They have online system for giving clearances on RODs, etc. Even if issues are not resolved in this forum, there is a group of ministers who meets frequently, and over this meeting, it is, this group consists of our own minister, Mr. Gadkari, then Mr. Piyush Goyal, then Mr. Javadekar. In the meeting, most of the decisions are taken and decided. So things have been streamlined to a great extent.
Okay. So, next question: what was the capex in FY19 and FY20? Actual capex?
Finance side, sorry, I don't remember those figures.
Okay. So next question is
1,09,000, 10,000.
Okay, that's for FY20.
That I'll have to check.
Okay. From K. Sudhendra, the payment terms for DPR consultant is highly inclined towards activities which are dependent on government agencies. How is this being addressed?
The DPR consultant issue is concerned, of course, because of the. I'm not blaming anyone, but poor DPR has been cited as one of the reasons for our slow progress. So we try to, little strengthen that. How to take care that they are responsible to the last extent, and even acquisition of land has been made part of scope of the work of DPR consultant. As on today, it is working fine. In case if any forum has any kind of problem with the payment terms, NHI is open and we are willing to consider their request.
Okay. So next question is: are bitumen roads cheaper versus cement? And
it all depends upon the cost of bitumen and the cost of cement.
Okay. As of now, what?
Last year it was bituminous is cheaper, and in 14-15 cement was cheaper.
All right, sir. A question from BPCL: what is your view on bitumen dependency on BM Bharatmala projects? Are there rigid paver projects or modified bitumen projects also under Bharatmala scheme?
As far as bituminous roads are concerned, we never specify, because in all our documents, the design responsibility rests with the contractor and the concessionaire, including our EPC projects.
Mm-hmm.
But coming to the modified bitumen, there is a provision in the Indian Road Congress that bearing course are to be laid either with stone mastic or with bituminous concrete with modified bitumen. So it has to be laid accordingly.
Okay. This question from Suresh Menon: does NHI has an incentive scheme for contractors for finishing a project and maintaining it as per standard?
As far as people who are completing earlier in BOT, they have an advantage of toll collection. In HAM and EPC, we are giving bonus to them. As far as coming to the maintenance part of it, of course, the maintenance is something which is little subjective. What we did is we now made inspection through equipment mounted vehicles, so that we'll have real assessment. And to encourage those kind of people, we are bringing in a system of rating of contractor and concessionaire. So if you are doing well, you will be rated better.
Question from Gulf Petrochem: for grievance management, NHAI has two portals, GATI and PMS. Which one should we go for, or do we have to go to both?
And I didn't get it.
For grievance management, there are two platform portals, GATI and PMS, Data Lake. Do they have to go for both, or is Data Lake enough?
Go to Data Lake, it is good enough.
That's good enough. Okay. A question from Mirat also saying that earlier monthly progress data was available online. Can we have that again?
It can be made available. After getting the two feedback, I'll try to see to it that it is available on our website.
Okay. Mohit Khullar, extremely impressed with the vision shared by you. As you have stressed digitalization, can we not look to a scenario where the report submission and approval will be done through digital means only? This will be faster and more convenient.
There's no doubt in it. For all this, we'll have to move together. It is not NHAI alone. Everybody will have to, as I told you, it is from each and every segment. All they should have that kind of program, and all are integrated to each other, so that whatever is being done at site, it translates to transfer to the Similarly, when DPR consultant is doing something, it automatically comes to.
Okay. Next question. Yeah. So next question is, how will NHI handle the recurring expenditure on paying annuity for large HAM projects in future? This will be a huge liability, but I'm assuming obviously you've taken care of that.
Of course, whenever we plan a project, the funding is one of the part of it. And as I told you, whatever I am constructing, I am trolling it. So one of the potential sources is the trolling.
Okay. So this is a question from Bajaj Reinforcement. We would like to have a model stretch with fiber reinforcement concrete to demonstrate, shrinkage cracks or reducing shrinkage cracks. Cost will be about 160 rupees per cubic meter. How can we approach NHAI for this demonstration?
I can use this platform to invite anyone who can come with innovation or new material, new technology. We are open. We are willing to give one of the stretch to demonstrate their products.
And they should contact you, your office?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. The next question is, how is, from Suresh Menon again, how is waste or plastic used for construction of roads, as is the case in other countries?
As far as we are concerned, it has been established in the labs that it performs better. It is a kind of modifier only. Even Indian Road Congress has brought out one publication, and to promote under Swachh Bharat mission to promote use of plastic in road construction, we have issued clear-cut direction, and NHAI has gone much beyond and taken the whole responsibility of performance of the road constructed with waste plastic. The whole idea is we'll construct few roads and we'll see the performance of it over a period of time. So the real results will be available only after 3 to 4 years after, but we have issued good guidelines, identified potential supplier who can supply those kind of plastic. Responsibilities have been shared between all the three parties, and if we'll follow that, I'm sure we can do so.
A question from Mr. Jagadish. Are there measures that you take for sustainability or durability of coastal roads or structures in marine environments?
As far as marine environment is concerned, we go by the Indian Road Congress specification, wherein they specify number of the special treatment to be given. Recently, people came with stainless steel kind of rebars. We said, okay, it is also, we are open to use it. We are discussing with them, and maybe as a pilot we will take up.
Okay. From Mohit Khullar, the question is NHAI planning, or what sort of improvement is NHAI planning on selection process of consultants?
Our system is open, transparent. Everybody knows it is. It's quality, QCBS system, wherein this is an organization where I'll evaluate the person, put it on the website for everyone, and take their comments. Thereafter, we publish the final results. So we have a very transparent and open system.
Sir, question for Vinay Sharma. DPR period of 8 to 9 months is not sufficient since scope includes land acquisition and bidding of contractor. Why is the time period not increased?
Based on the process, I do agree. The land acquisition, it varies from state to state. Based on our experience, we worked out the entire chart, and the total time required is 310 days, which we have specified in our document. I do agree. More time you can give for planning, but when you have target like implementation within certain periods, so we'll have to be optimal between the two, whether planning or execution. So 310 days were identified on the basis of the practical, which can be implemented.
Okay. Question: with the hike in cost of construction, will the NHAI tolling base rates also change for viability?
As far as tolling is concerned, we go by the toll rules.
Okay. From Ashwin Moghe, in COVID situation, what is the per day kilometer speed these days?
During COVID, it was not much. Last 2 months, April, May, June, we did around 600 kilometers.
Okay, all right. A question from Bidur Kant Jha. Sir, we appreciate perpetual payment approach of NHAI, but how will NHAI maintain its construction quality?
Again, my answer is straight. There are two ways of doing it. Number one, we have engaged third party as supervision consultant or the independent consultant or the authority engineers who will be responsible, who are supposed to be one of the the expert in the area. Number two is the defect liability. Defect liability period of such project is 10 years. So if something even missed by the authority engineer, it will be captured during the performance.
From Suresh Menon, corruption is one of the biggest problems we have in India. How does NHAI deal with it?
We are part of same society from where you are.
Okay. From Ravi Charan Pentapati, what is NHAI standpoint with respect to companies undergoing CIRP under IBC?
And if it's a, I don't know what is the objective of this question, but the point is, if it is some kind of relief, yes, there were stuck project, and Ministry of Road Transport and Highways brought out one policy on the stuck project which addresses all those companies which are under NCLT.
Okay. Are there any plans for changes with from IRC or from NHAI with respect to layer, sub-layer thickness, etc.?
No, basically we follow the IRC guidelines.
Okay, all right. Last question, sir. Sorry, two more questions. How much is the scope for technological solutions like HTMS and ATMS in terms of Bharatmala projects?
As I told you, we are moving towards electronic toll collection. Our whole idea is, in fact, we brought in ATMS, HTMS long back, and it is part of the project. Now we are reworking on it because electronics is one area where a lot of developments are taking place, and we'll have to upgrade our specification. We are working on it, and probably maybe another 2 months we will be out with our specification for ATMS and HTMS.
Sir, the very last question for you from Vikash. We have seen whenever traffic risk is transferred to private sector under BOT toll, they tend to speculate, and that becomes a major factor to win the project rather than being efficient in cost and time. What's your view on that?
I do agree. We are aware of this concern, and my new BOT document will address this.
Okay, thank you very, very much, Mr. Pandey. A lot of questions you answered, and your concise answers made sure that we could answer. We could ask you many, many questions. Thank you again, and we hope to see you in person next August, sir.
Sure.
Next August. Thank you, Mr. Pandey. Thank you again, and I will just join my colleagues in just that project. Thank you, sir. Thank you. We are now ready for the next session, which is going to be contractors' perspective. And we have with us 3 panelists. We have with us Mr. R.K. Bansal, Mr. Ajay Kumar Mishra, and Mr. Reddy. Ritika, have they all joined?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. Let me introduce the 3 panelists, and this is in alphabetical order. R.K. Bansal is head of roads and highways at NHAI. He has more than 27 years of experience in project management, contract management. He has been spearheading and pushing the adoption of digital industry. He has been involved in Mumbai Airport. He's an engineer from Mumbai University and has an MBA from SP Jain Institute of Management and Research. Has also done an advanced management program at Columbia University, New York. Welcome, Mr. Bansal. Also, this is Mr. Ajay Kumar Mishra, President, Contract and Claim Management, Delhi Buildcon. He has over 3 decades of experience in finance, administration, execution, infrastructure matters, etc. Started his career with Punjab National Bank, then joined Madhya Pradesh Public Service Commission, and then after 12 years in government, switched to private sector and has worked with companies like Ramki Infrastructure and ERA Infra Engineering. He has a master's degree, also has a PGDBA in finance. Welcome, Mr. Mishra. Wonderful to have you again with us. Also with us is Mr. Sandeep Kumar Reddy. He is Managing Director, Gayatri Projects. He has a great deal of experience, several decades of experience in operation or development of infrastructural assets like major roads, power plants, and renewable energy assets. He is a civil engineer from Purdue University, USA, and has a master's degree in construction engineering and management from University of Michigan, USA. Welcome, Mr. Reddy. Is he there? Is Mr. Reddy there? Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, wonderful. Okay. So what the format of the session is going to be as follows. I'll ask a few questions to begin with from each one of you. And then we will have We'll have several rounds of those. Each one will get a first crack at a particular question, and then that'll go on for about 30 to 40 minutes. And then in the last 15 to 20 minutes or so, we'll take questions from the audience. I'm going to begin in the reverse order, and I'll go to Mr. Reddy first. Mr. Reddy, if you can very briefly tell us what has been your involvement in the sector so far from all angles, and also how would you, what would you say has the experience has been? Has it been good, not so good? And in future, what is your perspective? Do you want to increase your involvement, or do you increase involvement in some areas, or do you want to decrease your involvement? Mr. Reddy.
Thank you, Alok. Just to mention, I've been actually in this business in the last 3 decades, actually. So we are one of the, even though our company has been from last 5 decades in construction, and we were primarily irrigation and heavy construction contractors, and then we got into highways in the mid-90s, and we built a number of projects for the NHDP program and the Golden Quadrilateral and all that. And then we also got into the BOT sector. We did a number of projects from 2006 onwards. And then last 5 years, we have actually, our experience in BOT has not been very good. In fact, our balance sheets are really got bad because of the investments, and all our, basically the projects, due to various reasons, have not performed, and we have been financially strained by that. So we have decided to concentrate only on EPC business. So we are now concentrating mainly on EPC contracts in highways, and also we are in other lines also, like in irrigation, water projects, plant emission, and industrial plants. But I think our major focus would still be highways, because the market is the largest in highways, as you know, going forward with all these ambitious programs. So I think going forward, we would definitely be participating in more projects in the sector. Thanks.
Okay, thank you for that very brief answer. I'll have the same question for Mr. Mishra. So Mr. Mishra, what has been the experience so far? Good, not so good, and going forward, and also in which segment, and going forward, would you increase your involvement, decrease your involvement? Mr. Mishra? We had him earlier. Okay, while we wait for him, Ritika, is he there?
He was there, Alok.
I know. Okay, while we wait for him, maybe Mr. Bansal can answer the same question. Of course, L&T has been involved in all aspects.
Yeah. So, good morning,
sorry,
all participants. Hello, am I audible?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so good morning to all the participants and my colleagues on the panel. And L&T has been, in this sector right since in the early 90s. We started first with project Asian Development Bank funded and World Bank funded project. Ever since NHAI began its road construction program, we have been associated with it and continue to stay interested in this sector.
Could you just, sorry, we are so Mr. Bansal, somebody who's speaking, if you want except the speaker. Yeah, it's better now. Yeah, Mr. Bansal, you go ahead, please. Sorry, if you can.
Yeah, so I'll just repeat. L&T has been in this highway sector right since the beginning of the, so to say, the modern road construction in India, starting from the early 90s. And the first few projects were obviously the Asian Development Bank and the World Bank funded projects. And then came the NHAI's Golden Quadrilateral. And over the last, I'll say almost nearly more than 20 years with NHAI, we have been continuously working from the item rate contracts. Then came the BOTs, and then the EPC contracts. And we have continuously been there in these highway programs. And of course, we also had a very major share in the BOT. And last 5-6 years, as Mr. Sandeep Reddy was explaining, it was not a very good scene. So we have also consciously stayed away from the BOT and the HAM space, and we remained confined, or I'll say focused on the EPC space. And even as of today, we are doing close to almost 15 projects with NHAI and a few more with the ministry. And our experience has been good. I mean, over a period of time, the whole, so to say, the construction has evolved. Timelines have come down. Earlier, each project used to take 4 years. Now it takes 2 years. And a lot of processes, technology has improved, a lot of processes have improved. And we remain committed to this sector. We are there. Very recently also, we have bagged a few jobs. So we remain committed to this sector. I think you are on mute.
Alok, please unmute yourself.
Yeah, Mr. Mishra, question for you, sir. What has been the Dilip Buildcon experience in the sector? What is are you planning to increase or decrease your involvement? What's your thinking, Mr. Mishra? Mr. Mishra, you have to unmute yourself, I think, and put your video on if you can.
Confusion.
Mr. Mishra? Okay. Can
I
some
can check Alok with him.
Yeah, if you can just check with him. Oh, there he is. He's on now. Mr. Mishra, can you hear us? No, I guess he's muted himself again. Mr. Mishra, if you can unmute yourself, please. Yes.
Am I audible now?
Yes, you're audible now, sir. So my question to you, sir, is what has been your experience with and going forward, are you going to increase your involvement or decrease your involvement?
See, there is some problem in my connection itself. Can you repeat the question once again?
Yeah, sir, my question is what has been the Dilip Buildcon experience in the road sector briefly, and are you planning to increase your involvement in the sector or decrease your involvement?
Right. We have been into the road sector, and the road sector is our strength. Our primary strength is the road sector, but now we have diversified in many other areas, such as mining, airports, metro, and then into dams also. Just now, in last couple of weeks, we got some good major projects. And in the road sector, we will be increasing our stake. We have some concerns in BOT, but in HAM and other projects, we are very comfortable.
All right. Okay. And so BOT. So
BOT, if it is toll based, we have our fingers crossed, because there are a lot of competing infrastructure, and when they come up, the whole economics gets goes for a 6. Therefore, in toll-based BOT, we are a little bit cautious. Otherwise, for HAM projects, they are open.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to request the people to introduce themselves. Let's get speaking. Yeah. My next question is going to be on impact of COVID. And let me start with myself. Mr. Bansal, the impact of COVID, how long do you think it will last? What has been the impact in terms of the speed of projects? What do you agree with the ICRA assessment that it might lead to 15 to 20% decrease in billings? And how you're addressing these issues?
Okay, let me try and answer this to the best of my ability. Right from the 4th week of March, when this crisis hit us, and we had the national lockdown. So from that time till the end of April, I think the work practically came to a standstill across all our project sites. And we were actually maintaining our labor during this period. Almost I had almost 25,000 laborers across all our projects in the highway sector. But then after that, there was this huge, labor migrant crisis, and so much of hype in the media and all, that the labor started moving away. And by the end of April, practically the entire labor force sort of demobilized. And from the early part of May, we started sort of restarting the works on a very small scale. And our staff was there, our engineers, our equipment, everything was there in place, but for the labor. And ever since then, last say about 2.5 months, we have been trying our best to get the labor back. And the labor has started to come back also, I must say that. say as of today, almost nearly 70% labor has in fact returned on the project sites, and the work also has picked up again. May we could do say about 25% of the work that we would have normally done. June it has increased to roughly about 40 to 45%. And July being a monsoon month, again there is the progress has come down. But overall, I'd say the situation is slowly returning back to normalcy, and maybe in a couple of months we should be back to normal.
So in July, what would it be? Would it be 80%, 90%, or 70%?
July traditionally it has been a low production month because of the monsoon. So if I compare like last year July to this year July, I'll say it would be say around 70-75%.
70 to 75%. And what are some of the measures that you're taking in trying to get the labor back?
Okay, so what we have done is normally we would be depending on some third-party labor agencies, apart from our own dedicated labor to manage our projects. So here what we are doing is we are providing incentives to the labor for coming back, arranging special transport for them with social distancing. Say we are arranging a lot of buses from the regions where we normally get labor. And each bus, instead of carrying say 60 people, they are carrying only 25, 30. Hundreds of buses have come to various project sites. We are providing them food. We are providing them the basic minimum assured wages, irrespective of whether the work is whether we are able to work full